Hello, in this video we're looking at issue 35 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine, adding a Tech-Priest Enginseer to our AdMech collection and learning some more rules for the Mechanicus on the tabletop. Hello, I'm Mike and this is Will. We are the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And we're bringing you issue 35 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine today. And in this issue we received a Tech-Priest Enginseer model for the Adeptus Mechanicus. So if you'd like to see him in battle, you can skip to the timecode in the description or use the chapter bars. But as always, we have a quick overview of the issue contents before. So first up, we have the battle record for the Tech-Priest Enginseer. Enginseers are tech-priests who specialise in the maintenance of Imperial vehicles, so they're often called on to do battlefield repairs. And you can see he's got a big mechanical arm on his back, which aids with it, and obviously a big mechanical arm that's strong enough to lift vehicles. It's quite good for smashing the enemy, and he carries the Omnicine axe like most other tech-priests, and he's followed by a little servo skull. Again, you can give him names for his war gear and a name for himself. More background on the Forge World. We have Styges 8. Styges 8 is mistrusted by other Forge Worlds since they seem to be particularly keen on gathering Xenos technology, so that's a bit sort of heretical, and they've drawn the Eye of the Inquisition. And we have Forge World Graia. If you're fans of the Space Marine video game, that is the planet that game takes place on. And the forces of Forge World Graia have a particular reputation for martial discipline and bravery. More background on the history of the Imperium, the Age of Darkness. This is the period after the Horus Heresy, where mankind became very split and very distrustful and led to the rise of the Inquisition and the reverence of the Emperor as a godlike being. And the Space Marine legions were reformed into chapters. The Imperial Army and Navy were split, so large chunks of the Imperial military, if they defected, it wasn't so catastrophic. While the remains of the traitor legions, most of them fled to the Eye of Terror, though a few remained in real space, and most of them forged pacts with the Dark Gods and continued to fight against the Imperium in what is known as the Long War. We have the build guide for the Tech-Priest. There's not too many parts, there are a few small ones. It just suggests leaving his backpack as a sub-assembly to make him easier to paint. And do be careful with that little sensor he has. It's the sort of thing that's very easy to lose or break. But otherwise he's fairly simple to put together. And then the painting guide is basically the same as the Scutari Rangers in a size and paint scheme, with metal and red robes, and using Runelord brass to break up some of the silver on the mechanical parts. There's a few other small details like using Macragge blue for eye lenses and the little computation thing. Paint the screen for that blue as well. And there you have a finished example of him there. And as I said earlier, we have some new rules for the Mechanicus, so I'll hand you over to Will so he can teach them to us.
And to go with our game for this issue, we've got some more faction rules for the Adeptus Mechanicus. These ones are called Doctrina Imperatives. So much like the Canticles of the Omnicire that we learnt about a couple of issues ago, these you can only use if every model in your army has the Adeptus Mechanicus keyword, and you also need a character with the Doctrina Assembler keyword on the table to use them at the time. So what happens is if you have one of those, you can at the start of the battle round select one of the 4 imperatives to activate, and you can't use one that you've already used again. Each imperative has both a benefit and a disadvantage. The benefit is called the optimization and the disadvantage is called the deprecation. So you can pick the one that is most suitable for the battlefield situation at that time. And they are only of benefit to units that have the Doctrina Imperatives ability on their datasheet, which for the Adeptus Mechanicus section is just the Scutari Rangers. So having a look at the 4, first up we have the Protector Imperative. This improves the ballistic skill characteristic of the unit by 1, but reduces their weapon skill characteristic by 1, whereas the Conqueror Imperative does the opposite. It improves their weapon skill characteristic and decreases their ballistic skill characteristic. Then we have the Aggressor Imperative. This improves the move characteristic by 3 inches of the models, but reduces their save characteristic by 1, whereas the Bulwark Imperative improves their save characteristic by 1 to a maximum of 2+, but reduces their movement characteristic by 3 inches. So they're very straightforward in effect, but using them at the right time is part of its own strategy. And it also mentions down here about the Doctrina Assembler keyword, which in this army the Tech-Priest Dominus has, and also the new Tech-Priest Enginseer that we got with this issue. And over the page is just a tutorial about this. It mentions that using them at the right time is crucial, but it also points out that you don't have to use one at the start of the battle round, and you also need a Doctrina Assembler model, so if all of those have been destroyed, you can't use them anymore. And there's just an example of using them here and how it works on the Scutari Rangers. Then we have the datasheet for our new Tech-Priest Enginseer. You can see he has a 6-inch move, a 4+ weapon skill, and 3+ ballistic skill. He's strength and toughness 4 with 4 wounds, 2 attacks, and leadership of 8, and a 3+ save. He has a Mechanicus pistol, which is a 2-shot pistol, strength 4, AP minus 2/1 damage. He has an Omnicine axe, which is the same as the Tech-Priest Dominus. He also has a servo arm, which is another melee weapon, which gives him ×2 strength and AP minus 2 or 3 damage. But each time he fights, he can only make 1 attack with that weapon, which he might as well because it's better than the Omnicine axe, but he can only use 1 of his 2 attacks to do that. He does have Canticles of the Omnissiah, but he does not have the Doctrina Imperatives. He does have the Doctrina Assembler keyword though, as you can see at the bottom, so he does allow the army to benefit from that ability. He has a 5+ invulnerable save. His Master of Machines rule means you can heal a friendly Mars model at the end of the movement phase within 3 inches for D3 lost wounds, just like the Tech-Priest Dominus can. Awaken the Machine allows him to improve the ballistic skill characteristic of vehicles, but we don't actually get any Mars vehicles with the collection, so that's not going to be useful. And Brotherhood of the Cog is to do with army building, so we'll learn about that at a later time. And on the back there's a tutorial just about how to use his servo arm in melee combat. Next we continue our coverage of the core rules. This is the shooting phase. So we've seen all of this before, and by watching our games you will have seen all of this in action, so I won't go over it in any great detail, but it starts off by selecting targets, and it talks about selecting units that are in range of the weapons firing and in line of sight. On the next page, one point to mention that we might not have explicitly said is that when a unit has multiple of the same ranged weapon in it, you do have to shoot all of those before moving on to any different weapons. So you can't, for example, shoot some of the Skitaris' rifles and then move on to one of the special weapons and then go back to rifles. You have to do all the rifles at one time. And it also mentions what happens if you're locked in combat and the number of attacks you're making with a weapon, which is all stuff we know. Now we have the background for our game. When the Necrons attacked the moon of Tsiphos, they used a large number of monoliths, which are gigantic floating war engines that can also teleport Necron warriors into battle. They deployed them all across the planet, but one particular one here has been damaged by Imperial fire and has crashed, so the Necrons wish to recover it and restore it to operation, but the Adeptus Mechanicus would quite like to get their hands on it. And so, yes, the Necrons are trying to capture the crash site, led by the Overlord, whereas the Adeptus Mechanicus are looking to plunder the wreckage. So we have the next mission on our scout mission pack, Raise the Monolith. The Necron forces are the Necron Overlord, the Technomancer and 10 Necron Warriors, whereas, well, it says Ultramarines actually, but Adeptus Mechanicus forces here are the Tech-Priest Dominus, the new Tech-Priest Enginseer, and 10 Skitari Rangers. For our battlefield, we're finally getting to use the Ruined City side of our board that came with issue 21 technically, with some of the printed terrain actually covered up by the pieces. So we've got the 2 ruined buildings on their locations and also the Hemochip reactor, and then we've also got a load of crates and barrels in the positions you can see them there, and one of the Munitorum armoured containers. There's a single objective right in the centre of the battlefield, representing the crashed monolith, and deployment zones 10 inches on from each corner in a sort of right-angled triangle arrangement, as you can see on the picture. So once we've set up the battlefield, the Necrons player begins deploying first, and there's a single mission objective, a progressive objective. At the end of the player's turn, if they control the objective, they score a victory point, and at the end of the 5 battle rounds, whoever has the most victory points is the winner. So we'll get all that set up and the models deployed, and then we'll come back. So here's our battlefield with the models deployed. You can see the terrain where it's specified on the picture. Looking at the Necron deployment, we've got the Necron Warrior unit, which I put down first, and then the Technomancer and the Necron Overlord behind them. Hopefully not many of them are going to be visible in the first shooting phase. And then over on the Adeptus Mechanicus corner.
Yeah, I've got the Skitari Rangers in a line in front, the Enginseer alongside, and the Dominus behind.
And as usual, we're rolling off to see who gets to choose who first takes first turn. I've rolled a 4.
I roll a 2.
I'm actually going to make the Adeptus Mechanicus go first, because I cannot move my Necrons in a way that they'll be able to see any of them, I don't think. So we'll be on to Adeptus Mechanicus turn 1. But before that happens...
Yeah, I'm going to use the Rangers rule the Skitari Rangers have. They get to make a 3-inch move, so they're all just going to move towards the ruin. Some of them can get in it.
And with that done, we will be on to turn 1.
So at the start of the turn, I'm not going to pick an imperative. If I have to pick a canticle, I'll pick Incantation of the Iron Soul, because nothing in the Necron army does mortal wounds, and their 2 characters aren't going to need to make combat attrition tests, so it's not going to have any effects, but probably the least useful out of all the ones I have.
Actually filming from the other side, so you can see where the Skitari have moved to.
Yeah, they've all jammed themselves into the corner of the building, so the Necrons can't see them, and the 2 characters are kind of hiding behind as well. I think the Tech-Priest is just about in the ruin, but the Dominus has to stay outside for now. And that'll be it for my turn, since none of my guys can see any Necrons.
Yeah, on to Necrons turn 1. And then in my turn, my will be done. In the command phase, we go on the Warriors, and then the Warriors have moved into the ruin. One of them on the right-hand end there will actually be able to see a Skitari Ranger, as can the Technomancer, who's out on a limb, and the Overlord is behind them. So in the shooting phase, looking down the table, as you can see, one Necron Warrior and the Technomancer can see a Skitarii Ranger on the end. So we'll shoot with the Technomancer first. He has 3 shots, hit on 3s, 2 hits, wound on 3s, 2 wounds with an AP -2.
Yeah, so 2 5+ saves because we're in the ruins. Made 1, failed 1. So lose a Ranger. Let's take this guy because he's the easiest to see.
And the one warrior has 1 shot, hits on a 2 because of my will be done. It does. It wounds on a 3. It does.
4+ armor save. Made it.
And that's the end of my turn, and no morale test will be necessary. So on to Adeptus Mechanicus, turn 2. At the start of the battle round,
I'm going to activate the Protector Imperative, so it's +1 ballistic skill, -1 weapon skill for the Skitarii Rangers. And I'm going to activate the Benediction of the Omnissiah Canticle, so the Enginseer and the Dominus can reroll 1 hit roll, 1 wound roll, and 1 damage roll. So the Skitarii Rangers have moved up onto the upper floor. One of the riflemen was tucked into the corner, so you can just go directly up and perch on the pillar, because there isn't quite enough room for them all on the flat bit, unfortunately.
And you just stay there, so that's allowed.
Yeah. And then the Enginseer and the Dominus are going to move into the building. The Enginseer is just going to hide behind the wall, while the Dominus is leaning out a little bit, so you can just about see that warrior on the end. So I'm going to pick the Skitarii Rangers to shoot first, and they can all see a warrior, either the one outside or through the window, not supercharging with the plasma caliber. And I think the sniper will shoot at the Technomancer, see if I can get lucky. Yeah, I think I'll start shooting with the Phosphor Blast Pistol on the Alpha. D3 shots, but it's a unit of 10, so it's just automatically 3 shots. Hitting on 2s, because he's got +1 ballistic skill this turn. Rerolling 1s because of the Tech-Priest, the Dominus. 3 hits. Wounding on 3s. 2 wounds, that's -1 AP.
But being in cover, they get 4+ overall. That's 1 dead so far.
I'll do the Garbanic Rifles next. I've got 5 remaining. These are hitting on 3s, because they've got +1 ballistic skill, but -1 because they moved and they're heavy weapons. And rerolling 1s because of the Dominus. Reroll that 1. So that +1 ballistic skill did help, that was 9 hits. Wounding on 4s. 5 wounds.
AP -1, but again in cover, so 4+ saves. Another 2 dead.
I'll do the Plasma next. 2 shots hitting on 2s. They both hit. Wounding on 3s. 2 wounds.
With a 6+ save because of cover. Nope, 5 dead.
And the Arc Rifle, 2 shots because it's in rapid fire range, hitting on 2s. Both hit. Wounding on 3s. 2 wounds. AP -2.
So 5+ saves. Made my failed ones, that's 6 dead. Yeah,
and we'll do the Sniper as well. 1 shot at the Technomancer, hitting on a 3. Rerolling 1s, he hits. Wounds on a 3 because it spent 7.
So we've got 4 Necron Warriors left, but then we get to do reanimation protocols. 6 reassembling on 5s, rerolling 1s. Well, we've got 5 1s and a success. That's
a roll of 2 extremes.
And rerolls give me another 1, so 2 come back. And they will reanimate outside the building just to get me a bit closer.
Now the Tech-Priest Dominus can't see anything to shoot. He can see the Technomancer, but the Technomancer has lookout server from the Warriors, so he's not a viable target, even though he's the only thing he can see.
And the Necrons do not need to make a morale test, because losing 4 with leadership 10, they're just about okay. So that's the end of Adeptus Mechanicus turn 2, on to Necrons turn 2. In the command phase, I'm going to use the Resurrection Orb. There's only 4 warriors missing, but the beginning of the game is when they're going to make the most impact, so try and get as many back. So needing 5s, rolling 1s again. We've got a 1 and a 1 to reroll. No, only 1 back. But then at the same time, I'll do the Technomancer's Rites of Reanimation. He automatically reanimates D3 warriors because they are warriors. No, but only got 1. So both of those will reanimate outside the building like that, and they'll also get My Will Be Done on them also in the command phase. And in the movement phase, all the warriors are going to move out of the building to get as close as possible to the Adeptus Mechanicus building, and the 2 characters are just following up behind like so. And then we'll be on to the shooting phase, where all warriors are going to shoot at the Skitarii Rangers. 16 shots, hitting on 2s, because one will be done. 14 hits. Wounding on 3s. 10 wounds.
10 4+ saves. Failed 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Then the Technomancer will shoot at them as well. 3 shots hitting on 3s. 2 hits. Wounding on 3s. 2 wounds.
5+ saves this time. Failed both.
That brings us on to the charge phase. The warriors will declare a charge just against the 3 Skitarii Rangers, because they can get within an inch without getting too close to the Tech-Priests. Their charge roll is a 7. They'll charge like that, getting within an inch horizontally and 5 inches vertically. And I might as well declare a charge with the Overlord just in case he rolls an enormous number. He will also charge just the Qatari Rangers. He rolled an 8, that's not going to be enough to get him round, so that will be a failure.
Both the Tech-Priests will heroically intervene.
Yeah, they are within an inch through the wall. But then the warriors will get to go, and they're going to pile in a little bit. So one has piled in round the wall there, you can see his foot sticking out, but only the front 5 are in range to attack the Qatari Rangers, and I will put all their attacks on them. But the ones in the front rank are actually within half an inch of the Tech-Priests, so the ones in the back rank will put these 2 over here on the Tech-Priest Dominus, and this one on the Tech-Priest Enginseer.
Yeah, and my Qatari Rangers will set to defend for what it's worth.
So 5 attacks on the Rangers, hitting on 2s, because mine will be done. They all hit. Wounding on 3s. Oh, yeah, 3 wounds.
3 4+ saves. Ooh, 1 dead. I'll lose the arc rifle.
2 attacks on the Tech-Priest Dominus, they both hit. Wounding on 5s, nothing. 1 attack on the Enginseer, hitting on 2. And wounding on a 4, nothing.
I'll do the Dominus. 3 attacks on the Dominus, hitting on 3s. They will hit. Wounding on 3s because he's strength 6. 3 wounds, -2.
So 6 is to save. No, 3 dead. And actually then they then we'll try and do their reanimations immediately because he's finished attacking. One of them comes back, but reroll 1. One of them comes back.
I'll do the Tech-Priest Enginseer next. I'll use a red dice for the servo arm. It's weapon skill 4+, so hitting on 4s, 2 hits. The red dice will wound on a 2, because it's strength 8, but the white dice will wound on a 3. They both wound.
They're both AP -2 and multiple damage, so 6s again. No, double 6, alright.
I use a red dice for the normal Qatari, and then the white dice will be the alpha. We have -1 weapon skill from the Protector Doctrine, but +1 from setting to defend. So hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s. Another 1. Well, they all hit. Red dice wounds on a 5. White dice wound on 3s. 2 wounds. 1 at AP -1, and 1 at no AP.
So the AP -1. I think it's AP +2, isn't it, actually?
What?
Oh, it's a 6 anyway, so it's a save. And the other one is a 4+. Which I also made. And so after all that, they're 1 reanimated, closer to objective 1.
And at the end of the turn, the Rangers have to make a morale test. I've lost 7, so I need to roll a 1. Nope. So 1 runs away. Then the Alpha runs away on a 1 or a 2. He doesn't.
So just the Alpha left, and then at the end of the turn, the Necrons gain a victory point because they hold the objective, going up to 1. And then we'll be on to Adeptus Mechanicus, turn 3.
So for the Doctrina Imperative, I'm going to pick the Bulwark Imperative, which is +1 save, +3 movement for the Alpha, and I'll pick Litany of the Electromancer for the Canticles, so the 2 Tech-Priests I just want to hit in melee. And I'm not going to move, just going to stay locked in melee, and we'll be on to the shooting phase. So I'll do the Blast Pistol from the Alpha. D3 shots for 3, hitting on 3s, rolling 1s. 3 hits, wounding on 3s, 1 wound.
5 to save. Nope. Does he reanimate? I'm rerolling 1. He does. I'll kill this one and bring it back over there.
And that's it for shooting.
Yeah, there's the Tech-Priest Enginseer. It does have a pistol, but he can't actually see any Necrons because there's the wall in the way. Yeah, but then on to the fight phase, where the Necrons get to pick first. And the warriors will pile in this way, so we're going to have 2 attacking the Qatari Alpha and 4 attacking the Tech-Priest Dominus. This one at the back, bottom of the picture, it can attack you through a friend, as it were, as can the one here. 2 attacks on the Rangers, hitting on 2s, because my what we've done is still running. Missed once, wounds on 3. Nope. And 4 attacks on the Tech-Priest Dominus, hitting on 2s. Sorry, hitting on 3s, because he is under the benefits of Litany of the Electromancer. Yeah, so 3 hits, wounding on 5s, 2 wounds.
2+ saves. Made both. I'll do the Tech-Priest Enginseer first. Once again, red dice is the servo arm, hitting on 4s. They both miss. Do the Alpha next. 2 attacks hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s. 1 hit. Wounds on a 3. He does.
6 to save. Oh, made 6.
And 3 attacks from the Dominus, hitting on 3s. Getting 1. Wounds on a 3. Oh, it doesn't even manage that. Yeah, I'm just going to concede at this point. I mean, I probably should have done a turn ago, but to show off some more of the Canticles and stuff, because I'm not going to possibly get towards the objective.
No, and the Necron Warriors are just going to keep being brought back slowly by the Technomancer, and the Necron Overlord hasn't even got into melee yet, where he's more than a match probably for the 2 Tech Priests. Yeah, so we'll call that a Necron victory, and we'll recap the game for you now. Well, that was the game for issue 35 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine. How do you think that went?
Probably about as well as I expected it to. I think we've seen before that Skitarii, unless they get some really good shooting in, tend to lose against warriors, especially if the warriors can get into melee. Warriors kill Skitarii much quicker. And considering the Techno Monster and the Overlord are there, you can just bring loads of warriors back.
Yeah, I think we have established over the course of a few games that the best tactic for warriors against Skitarii is actually to charge them, even though their shooting isn't bad, the warriors. Yeah, and the Necron Overlord didn't even get into melee in that game, where he probably would have been able to best either of those two tech priests.
Probably both have to fight him at the same time.
You probably would have got through all the warriors in the end with the two tech priests, because the warriors can't really threaten them because they've got a good armor save, but unfortunately the way the mission was, you needed models and to be able to get on the objective.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I probably would have been better actually to move the tech priests forwards and have them as my front, so that they were a buffer for the Skitarii, because they are reasonably tough.
And the problem is that the Skitarii are just not a unit that can take and hold an objective. They are a ranged firepower unit. You do not want to be advanced them onto an objective where they can be charged even by Necron warriors.
Yeah, and I don't think a few minor stat changes from Doctrina Imperatives really helps. And also, you really don't see the effects, because seeing as the Skitarii army has units that are actually melee units, having to choose between ballistic skill and weapon skill is more of a choice. Yeah, with one unit, you really can't make the best of them. And I think also, since my plan was to hold the Ruin, I could use the Bulwark Doctrine to get extra saves, but then I wouldn't have been able to move up in the previous turn. I could have moved up in the first turn, but you would have been able to shoot me, and I would have been at -1 save, which would have been counteracted by the Ruins. So I used the +1 ballistic skill one to counteract the -1 for moving, but that gives you a penalty to melee. Short of having the Skitarii Rangers a really long way away and giving them +1 to hit, it's probably the best use. Oh, and also the fact that we only get them in a pure Mechanicus force, and we only have 2 more Cataphrone destroyers. So the Skitarii Rangers are the only units that benefit from the Doctrina Imperatives. And the Tech-Priest Enginseer, I do really like the model. It is a really cool model, but nowhere near as useful as the Technomancer, if he's meant to be equivalent to him.
Yeah, although he's a great model, unfortunately he's not that much use to the Adeptus Mechanicus in this collection, because his one gimmick really is he can make vehicles better at shooting, but you don't get any vehicles.
Don't get any Mechanicus vehicles. He's not particularly good in melee. I mean, the Tech-Priest Dominus is better, but still wouldn't class it as a melee character. And the Enginseer has a pistol that's alright, and he does have the Doctrina Assembler, but again, with only one unit, it's a bit...
And also, having him in an army with the Dominus, you've got two, essentially, the same ability to repair things, so...
Yeah, I mean, if you have a very vehicle-heavy army, then yeah. I think he can fix Cataphrons, but we only get one unit of Cataphrons again, so it's a bit redundant. Yeah. So yeah, the Enginseer really fits a very awkward niche.
Unfortunately, he's another support character who's being sort of pushed into a frontline role in these kind of games, which is not...
I think, honestly, I probably have to look at the characters differently and use them like self-repairing speed bumps, which I probably wouldn't normally. He's going to be an annoying speed bump with a single very dangerous sucker punch.
I suppose the thing is that this is just a collection to start you off with the Adeptus Mechanicus, so he is useful if you want to expand the collection. The issue is that you also have to play games with a very small number of models, and it doesn't really...
Yeah, I don't think it gives it a very good showing of the faction.
This is a good value for money issue if you do want a Tech-Priest Enginseer, because I think he's about £17.50 or possibly £20, so you get him for £9.
And also you can take him as part of Astra Militarum forces, I believe. He definitely would fit in an Astra Militarum army, especially a tank-heavy one.
Anyway, I think that's it for this issue and this game, so let us know what you thought in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, then do leave a like and subscribe. We've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.